Ladies and gentlemen, Violent Games here. Today I'm going to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, or at least give you my first impressions of the multiplayer after playing from day one. So, yeah, let's get started. I'm going to be doing this video on a pros and cons basis, and overall I do want you to know that I had fun with this beta, regardless of any other factors I'm going to be mentioning. I know some people may have a preconceived notion that I just like COD bashing for the sake of COD bashing. I understand, because I always talk shit on Call of Duty whenever I get the chance for various reasons, which I won't be covering here. But I want you to know that that bias is not going to be taken into consideration when I talk about this game. So without further ado, let's talk about the pros of Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. First up, we have nostalgia. I am very nostalgic when it comes to this game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, when it first released, was the first online multiplayer game that I had ever played at the time. And just for that reason alone, it rings such nostalgia in my brain, because it's where I transitioned as a gamer from playing just single player all the time to playing with actual people and fighting actual other players. It was a very interesting experience for me, and I think Call of Duty was the perfect bridge to get new players into online multiplayer shooters, as it wasn't that intimidating and the time to kill was relatively low. So the entry level being very low was very appealing to me at the time. So lots of nostalgia here. When I see the maps, I'm just like, oh, I remember this shit. You know what I'm saying. Second thing that I really like about Call of Duty Modern Warfare is the equipment plays a much bigger role in combat, at least in the multiplayer from what I've experienced. In all the new Call of Duty games, they usually have a pick 10 system where you could either load yourself down with perks, weapons, or attachments for those weapons. I think this kind of made combat way too samey, because everyone would just pick optimal perks, because a lot of the perks in the Call of Duty franchise are clutch perks and you needed to have them. So loading yourself down with perks would often determine the outcome of a gunfight more times than not, and having that scaled back a lot actually allows people to use equipment. In fact, one of your perk slots is an equipment-based slot that doesn't really deviate from equipment. So people are using the equipment more, you're seeing it more, and the equipment itself is very effective. More so than I think in a lot of other games for various reasons, like no exo movements and just the sheer fact that they're more powerful. Like, they just feel more powerful. If you get flashbanged or stunned, that's a death sentence a lot of the time. Whether that enemy kills you or his friend kills you, the equipment being a part of combat adds a different amount of depth in a game which, let's be honest, doesn't have a lot of depth in the combat. You kind of fight the same way with every gun regardless of what you're using it. The playstyle is relatively the same most of the time. Pro number 3, and probably my most salient point, and probably the best fucking reason to get this game over any other Call of Duty title right now: there's no 3D movement system. Now, I know this might strike up some controversy. I know people have mixed opinions on the 3D movement system that was added in during Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3, and now Infinite Warfare. The bottom line is, 3D movement system fucked up some key components to Call of Duty, or what I think made Call of Duty a good game in the first place. One of those components being positioning. You can't, set yourself up in a place in the new games and expect to stay there and hold down pinch points and hold off choke points, things like that. It's not really possible with the 3D movement system, because everyone can just jump up to where you are and kill you. If you hide behind a dumpster, that doesn't matter. Jump over the dumpster and kill you. It just seems like the 3D movement system took a lot of those pinch points out of the game, and it took the necessity of cover out of the game, and it kind of devolved into everyone just run around, whoever can get their gun on who first wins, or whoever sees who first wins. So the 3D movement system definitely was a big problem. Being back with boots on the ground is so refreshing, and I think it slows down the pacing of Call of Duty, making it a bit more of an engaging experience, and a more tense one at that. A lot of people are slowly crawling up to cover. I'll see this happen a lot. People will actually crouch in this game and like go up to cover and then pop out slowly. Like there's a lot of preconcertion to every engagement, and again, people will be throwing in flashbangs. There's just, the pacing is just so much better with boots on the ground combat. And when you have a smaller map size arena shooter, I think that slower movement definitely is more effective for pacing than the 3D everyone runs really fast movement speed. So positioning and setup matters a lot more in this game, and it is a welcome change, and it's definitely the reason that I had fun playing the game, in all honesty. So, now that we've talked about pros, let's move on to the cons. And a lot of the cons are plagued from the Call of Duty franchise from the get-go. Number one being terrible spawns. The spawns in this game are unfucking acceptably bad. Like, you will spawn in front of kill streaks, you will spawn on live grenades, you will spawn on a motherfucker aiming down sights on the spawn and killing you. Like, all of this is prevalent within this game. It happens to me frequently, and it happened ad nauseum to the point where I just accepted it as a mechanic within the game. It's like, once you spawn in, be ready to fight. Like, it's goofy as shit. And it also works in your favor sometimes, too. Like, you'll spawn behind the enemy that just killed you. This happened to me multiple times. They will spawn you behind the enemy that just killed you, and you can stab them in the back. It's like the most goofy shit like I've ever seen. And it's 2016. How old is this fucking game? And you're telling me you can't spawn us in a building where there are no enemies? I'm not buying it. I'm not for that. I don't think that the spawning couldn't have been tweaked a little bit. Now, I understand that some Reddit people were like, no, don't change the game at all. But the bottom line is this game's outdated, and some tweaking would have helped it. Alright, problem number 2. Inferior weapons are nearly pointless in this game. And this is kind of a problem that exists in other Call of Duties, but it's a little more glaring in this one. Like, for example, the Beretta M9 pistol is far inferior to the USP-45. For what reason, I'm not sure. I think the M9 has a better ammo reserve or something along those lines, but the ammo reserve on the 45 is just fine. I don't know. And there's even a pistol above it, I think it's that 1911, that is even weaker than that. It's like, what? Why do you unlock a gun later only for it to be weaker? Like, I don't know. I'm looking at these stat charts and scratching my head. Maybe there's something they're not telling us in the stat charts. That's definitely a possibility, but until I get a confirmation on that, I have to say that the inferior weapons are nearly pointless, and I question as to why they're even in the game to begin with. So problem number 3, clutch perks. In every Call of Duty game, you cannot escape certain perks that are absolutely necessary to have. And I think when it comes to perks, what the ideal perk system would be is that perks should only emphasize the things that you like in the game, or that the things that you enjoy in the game even more. So say I'm a sniper, give me a perk that increases my hold breath duration. Give me a perk that allows me to see enemy equipment. Give me a perk that maybe makes me immune to a certain kill streak that I don't like to deal with. You know, things like that. But the bottom line is there are some perks in every Call of Duty game that are absolutely necessary to use, otherwise you are at a significant disadvantage in combat. And in this game, it's Juggernaut and Stopping Power. If you are not using either of these perks, you are at a massive disadvantage in a lot of cases, and you just straight up will lose gunfights depending on whether or not you have either of these perks. And I wish they would have just taken them out. I don't think they have a place in this game. Time to kill is already too low, in my opinion anyway, so why would you need Stopping Power? If anything, put Juggernaut on all of the characters as a passive and not a perk at all. You know, just lower the time to kill, but then again, they wanted to keep an old-style, dated shooter, and I guess they preserved that, so that's just my opinion, really. I think clutch perks are annoying. I think they could have had a much more interesting perks that do little gimmicky things rather than completely influence the outcome of every engagement ever. Moving on to number 4, silent footsteps. I hate the fact that everyone sprints like a ninja in Call of Duty. It makes no fucking sense. I don't understand why you can't have the ability to hear someone sprinting up behind you with a fucking LMG. Like, I don't get that. It's unimmersive, and what it turns the game into is it turns it into a lot of random fights and engagements that would never happen in any realistic or semi-realistic combat scenario. So for example, 4 dudes can run into a room, and if 3 of the dudes' backs are turned away from everyone else, they won't know that the other people are even there because they can't distinguish footsteps at all. Unless the person's like point blank close to you, can you hear footsteps. So what it turns into is a lot of the fights in those close proximity engagements become about who sees who first and nothing else. There's no preconception you can really have other than throwing shit into a building to assume that people are there. And I feel like it limits the player's ability to respond to a lot of the cheesier shit that happens. And yes, there are perks like silent running, but those people aren't even using that perk and they're still way too quiet and they cannot be heard. And I understand if it was like, oh, they got muffled by gunfire. Okay, that's a thing, but that's not the case. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, you could be completely silent and a guy will just sprint behind you and stab you or something along those lines. I think that's goofy. I think it's causes the randomness in Call of Duty. And I think as a whole, gamers would appreciate Call of Duty more if your senses mattered. But I don't know. I think it's a problem that plagued Call of Duty. When they tried to fix it, everyone bitched and complained that they could no longer run around like mindless retards. So I guess we're never going to get that fixed. Thanks, guys. Thank you, you little butthurt baby-ass bitches. Alright. Number 5. Terrible value proposition. This is the number one reason, in my opinion, why you wouldn't want to buy this game. The value proposition for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered is $80 fucking dollars, not $60. $80. That's $20 more than a retail release of a new game. This game is how fucking old? And here's the additional slap in the face. You have to buy Call of Duty Infinite Warfare in order to get this game. Nobody fucking wants Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Or at least a mass majority of people are kind of coming out against this game saying it's a piece of shit. Why in the fuck did you not separate these games? Well, let's be honest. We know the reason why. It's because they know they wouldn't sell a fucking copy if they didn't throw Modern Warfare in there. And not only did they do that, but they had the audacity to charge you an additional $20 fucking dollars on top of that? Huh? Fuck you, Infinity Ward. Eat a dick. This value proposition is nothing more than a money grab. You did it to save your ass because you know your game was not competent enough to sell. If you did believe it was competent enough to sell, you would have given the consumers the better choice. But you didn't. You didn't give them a choice on how they wanted to play the game. I bet you if Infinity Ward would have sold the game separately at $30, you know, the remaster for $30 with just the multiplayer, people would have bought it. No one would have bought their shitty Infinite Warfare. They would have just bought Modern Warfare. The remaster anyways. Sorry about that. But yeah, the value proposition is way too high. Video games are expensive enough for most consumers, and let's be honest, your competition is way more, has way more variety than you right now. There are so many good shooters out right now. Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, and Overwatch. Fuck, even Battleborn. All of these games are new to these players. All of these games have more depth than Modern Warfare 1. Why in the fuck are you trying to price gouge your community for a game? I have no... Well, I understand why it's money. I'm not stupid, but you get what I'm saying. It's way too anti-consumer, and I hope Infinity Ward gets their asses chewed for this bullshit. It's not fucking ethical to do this. God damn it. Anyways, guys, that's all I'm going to say about the Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remaster. Overall, I had fun with it. Let's not get this twisted really quick. I had fun with this beta, and I really enjoyed it, being that I played Call of Duty Modern Warfare way back in the day, and I really loved it, and it's a very nostalgic title to me. But the problem is the value proposition just isn't there. Like, in my honest opinion, to the common consumer anyhow, you should not buy this game with all of the new titles that are way more interesting than this game right now. Like, why would you? There's no point. Unless you're a diehard Call of Duty fan, and if you have the money to blow, then go for it. I actually recommend it to you specifically because the game's not bad. It's exactly what it was years ago, and yes, it is plagued with the same issues that it had in those years. Again, like the terrible spawns and weird gun balance and shit like that, and antiquated perks. You know, it's still got charm to it. I really did enjoy it, more so than a lot of other shooters nowadays, just because it was a return to form of what that fun was back in the day. So my verdict on it is, it's really up to you whether or not you want to buy it. I don't think it's bad, is what I will say. Definitively, I don't think it's bad. I think the value proposition is what makes it terrible. The value proposition alone is the turnoff here. So that's all I have to say, guys. Before I go, if you want to see more Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered content on this channel in the form of guides or gameplay, do let me know. I could do some little sniper guides here and there. That's what I prefer to use most of the time anyways, but I'll occasionally play with other guns. So if you want my impressions on Weapon X or Perk X, do let me know, because I wouldn't mind doing some, seeing as I'm going to be playing with my dad in the future, because he did buy me this game. I did not buy this game for $80. No, I didn't. He bought me the game so I could play with him. And yeah, I've enjoyed myself, so take what you will from this. This is Violent Games, pissin' Wath. I didn't. Forgot to stop the.